It's an interesting journey that he's been on. He really is a wonderful, wonderful person and so brilliant. He majored in biochemistry and can do amazing work, and now teaches ASL. So quite a different path. But Evan's got great energy and great story. So I want to tell you that the LGBTQIA community at large, speaking of the hearing world, you have events, you have gay pride, you have a number of things within your community. Now you know the deaf community is already a minority within the hearing world, obviously. Imagine how much of a minority they are in the LGBTQIA community. How much smaller that community is to be both deaf and a member of the LGBTQIA community. And it causes a lot of contention within the community between deaf people. Last summer I visited a friend in San Diego, and I have a number of gay friends. We've gone to a party, and we were talking about RAD, the Rainbow Alliance of the Deaf. And there was a huge issue with oppression and with the organization at the time. And we were at a birthday party here in San Diego, and sitting around a table, and all of the men who were at the table were gay men discussing the issue. And none of them could even think to participate in the birthday party they were there for. So my friend whose birthday it was, she was hosting, came over and said, hey, would you mind holding off on your political conversation and not bringing it into my party? But the community is so small that this little group was comprised of people from San Francisco, from San Diego, from Arizona. That's how small this community is. So there are pros and cons to identifying in that community and the issues that come along with it. If I were ever to be more active in the LGBTQIA community, it would not be the deaf LGBTQIA community. Some people are nice, some people are great as individuals, but when you have group mentality with people like that, I'm out. It's too dangerous. So you know Jeremy is gay. Whether you knew that or not, I'm telling you, he is. Now you're shocked. Why are you looking at him like that? So, his partner is deaf, and neither one of them socialize within the deaf community or the LGBTQIA community. Would you mind explaining why? Sure. So I'll talk more about leaving the deaf community later at the end of the semester because I'll do the closing lecture on becoming an ally for the deaf community, but more so in regards to the deaf LGBTQIA community. There is a lot of contention and there is a lot of oppression within the deaf community. As you know, most groups of individuals who have experienced oppression, the second they have the opportunity to oppress somebody else, they will take it. So they do. And it causes a lot of contention. There are a lot of barriers for LGBTQIA people within the community. Now, there are various signs that have been designated for community members only, that only LGBTQ members can use, and signs that are to be used by non-members, meaning straight people, as they identify them. And the signs have changed over time, and there is a lot of discussion and more of an argument and fights about what you can sign and what you should sign. And as they said in the video, everybody has their own identity, everybody should be able to choose their own identity, and that should include being able to identify yourself as you choose to. So the sign gay, this sign is considered an older sign. Now the sign is gay. I don't identify as gay because this is too feminine for me. I prefer gay. That's the sign I prefer. The deaf community won't let me use that sign because they believe it's not appropriate. that I should follow the more standardized gay. However, this sign was originally meant for straight people, and gay people were assigned this sign. So even within the community, you can't be who you want to be. You can't make your own choices. You can't choose your own language even. That's how much people try to control who you are, especially within the deaf community. There's that much on a, what's that word? English. ASL students, help me out.
Face value?
No. Like, on a macro level. There. So, you have to be really careful about being secure in yourself, but also not letting other people tell you who they think you should be. And that's what happens a lot within the deaf community, is that you are told, you are assigned a personality, you are assigned a label, an identity. People don't see me in the deaf community as Jeremy. That's one of the biggest reasons I've decided to leave the deaf community, leave interpreting, leave teaching ASL, all of it. I'm going back to the hearing world. This might be news to a lot of you. I just made this decision like a week and a half ago. But in regards to that, I have never been able to be myself. And deaf people don't see me as Jeremy. They see me as a hearing interpreter whose name is Jeremy. You see how that works? I'm not a person. I am a hearing status, I am a function, and then I'm a human being. And I won't live my life that way anymore with this community. So because of a lot of these issues, when it comes to not being able to make choices for myself and community members being able to decide for themselves, you can't live in a world like that. You just suffer. Everybody suffers. Nobody is there to really work together. There's no mutual support. It's all just crab theory. Everybody's pulling each other down because you're different than what they want you to be. So that was one of the biggest points that they were trying to make in this video and that Christina wanted me to emphasize. Yes?
So will you two be working together still or no?
Oh no, we are such good friends. We've been friends before we started working together. I'm keeping the deaf people in my life who respect me, but that's it. That's a very small number of people. I don't care if he's hearing, doesn't bother me. I'm attracted to his personality. I think he's a cool guy. And I'm not heavily involved with the deaf community either. Because anytime I do anything, I get shit for it. Some deaf people are never going to be happy with the services that are provided to the deaf community, so I just stick to doing my thing and worrying about myself. I have contributed greatly to the deaf community by developing interpreters. That's my contribution to the deaf community. Like it or not, that's what I do. And I'll give you an example about the deaf community specifically. Since I moved here to Southern California and have applied to jobs here in the area, I applied for a full-time position here at this college. And there are a few good programs around for both ASL and interpreting. And every time I meet an ASL teacher, a deaf ASL teacher from any other college outside of MSJC, they say, "Where do you work?" And I say, "Oh, I work at MSJC." And they're right away, "Oh, I don't like Jeremy, blah, 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 Jeremy this, Jeremy that. He's hearing and he took a deaf person's job." That's what I get all the time. So I'm like, all right. And then I meet another person and they're like, "Oh, I don't like your curriculum. You're teaching this wrong and blah, in your classes." All right. And then this Saturday, I was resting, relaxing at home. Got 4 roommates. 4 roommates. One of them is a deaf ASL teacher who used to work here. She now works at another college. So she came with some guy that she teaches with. They came home, and I was into a movie. I was watching a movie at the time, sitting on the recliner. We had ordered pizza, just having a night in. It was really nice. So we were watching it, and Tina, the dumb one, came up and shoved my chair, scared the shit out of me. And I was like, "What are you doing? What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm just chilling here trying to watch a movie." And then the friend came who works at, they are the department chair of another college ASL program.
And he was like, oh, you're Christina, I heard about you. My program's way better than yours. And that was it. I got up, lost my shit. I was like, stop this shit. You people in the deaf community, we are too small and tight-knit for something like this. You need to stop with this competition. I was just going and going and going. I just laid into them. Completely snapped after that. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, I really didn't mean anything by it. And I was like, you know what? Don't ever say that ever again to anybody, if that is your position. So some deaf people, I'm not a fan of. Most deaf people, I'm not a fan of. Most of them are stupid. Sorry to say that. I really am. That's my perspective. I'm going to have some guest speakers coming in shortly, later this semester, who love the deaf community. So you'll see their perspective. You'll have a balance of your viewpoints, I promise that. So let's watch this one. This is a hearing and deaf couple. This is a pretty cool one. Guess which one is deaf? Yes. So, this woman, the black woman on the left, is the deaf one. Jeremy agrees with that. alright, I guess. What did you think? What did you think of that little dialogue there? Yes.
It made me sad when one of them said they couldn't hear the kids singing in the back of the car.
And being a late deafened individual, it was hard for them too, having lost their hearing later. These are very common issues between deaf and hearing couples that they talked about. That's why I don't bother with hearing people. one of the issues with the LGBTQIA deaf community is that there has not yet been a generally agreed upon consensus for what signs should be. So you are going to see a lot of variations of signs. I think this one's a pretty good one. Whether it's been approved by LGBTQ individuals or not, or they're going to continue to change it, I'm not sure. Yes.
That video right there says it was posted a month ago. I mean, I don't know if you should watch that one. This one is 2017.
Clicked on the wrong one. Now, there is an issue with Niall. He is himself a white presenting man who identifies as gay, and he has actually come up with his own signs for the community, which has also been a huge issue. Niall's amazing. He's a wonderful person. He's done so much for the deaf community. All of that's great. But for him to decide the signs for the community and then disperse them in this nature, not so great. Remember Black Panther, the movie that came out? That Marvel movie? Great movie. The Black deaf community was so inspired by this. And then Niall decided he was going to be the one to come up with the official sign for Black Panther without consulting with the Black deaf community first. Right? There it is. That's the look I was looking for. Exactly. Your expression says it all. So, what he signs for Black Panther actually translates to Black Tiger. The Black deaf community came up with Black Panther as the official sign for Black Panther. But the Black deaf community and other deaf community members who have been heavily involved in the social justice movement have never forgiven Niall for what he's done because he never apologizes for his actions. He just does his own thing. So he's good to look at, he might be beautiful, but he probably isn't the most reliable source of information for anything. Let's see what he comes up with. Oh my. Simply trans. So this is incorrect information that he's sharing in these signs here. This sign here, lesbian, and this sign all have different meaning. This means lipstick lesbian. This is just lesbian. And this is what some people use for dyke or butch. Now, Niall has not been out of the closet for very long, which means he has not been a part of the community actively for very long, yet he has chosen to take a very active role in representing the community, especially in regards to language. But should not be seen as a representative of a community to which he recently became familiar with. No, none of that. I remember when I was growing up, this was the sign for queer. But now it seems to be spelled out. Now you see the rainbow sign as part of that as well. All right, he's gotten a little better. I'll give him that. I used to have a huge crush when Niall first came out on America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks. I don't know if you know that show. I was all for him. So hot. He is hot as fuck. And then on my 35th birthday, I went to Las Vegas. And yes, I remember that. He was performing as a stripper in Vegas for a month. And I was like, I'm going for my birthday, I'm gonna be 35, I'm gonna get it on. I went to Vegas. And I enjoyed it, I really did. I got called up on stage twice. But after that, time went on and I started to see more and more of his involvement in the deaf community as a famous person. He was before as a non-famous person, but now that he became famous, he's dumbed down his language. I'm completely turned off by who he is now. Especially with that Black Panther thing, that was the last straw for me, was him doing the Black Panther signs. So this is the LGBTQIA deaf community little tidbit for you for today. And now you know that deaf people do have a variety of interests, as you've been learning this entire time, and the variety of deaf people that you'll be introduced to continues. So you've learned quite a bit about the deaf community up to this point, and we will continue that for the duration of this semester.